welcome back to the fifth and final video in at least making this specific game. So in this video we are going to be talking about polish and specifically menus, art, sounds, and text manipulation such as score counters and the like. So last time we left off where we had just finished the main part of the game. We have randomly spawning asteroids, we have collision that works, and the asteroids cease to move and stop spawning once the player is destroyed. So next what we want to do is something that I thought about after I finished last video. If we don't maximize on play and watch the bullet goes on forever. The bullet never gets deleted if you miss a target. Now, in the long run, this could be pretty bad because, as you can see, even though the game is technically stopped, these bullets are still here. So what we're going to want to do is make a way for the bullets to be deleted so that our scene isn't filled with useless objects. So under the bullet movement script, and inside update, we're going to make a pretty complex, well not complex, but a pretty long function that will accomplish what we need. So we're going to say if this dot game object dot transform dot position dot x is greater than or equal to 9, that way it will be it's checking to see whether it's further away than 9. And we're going to use OR, the two straight lines, and then we're going to copy this. And there we go. And we're going to paste it. And we're going to say OR it is less than -9, or the Y position is greater than 6, or, I almost built it, or the Y position is less than or equal to -6, then what we're going to do is delete why is this not calling delete? If all that, then am I typing this wrong? Ah, right, not delete, destroy. What am I thinking? It's destroy this dot game object. There we have it. So now what's going to happen with this is it's checking to see whether it is further away than basically a little bit of a bounding box that we've made. If it's outside of that box, then it's going to destroy it. So if we watch, all the bullets get destroyed off screen in all the directions, and our game isn't being filled up with useless bullets that aren't being used. We have it. So we have that down. So next, we're going to start working on text manipulation. This is something that I personally find takes a while to learn. So don't be upset if you don't get it immediately. We're going to go to GameObject UI, and we're going to create some text. So what this is going to do, it's just going to create canvas, a text, and an event system. The event system is something you're going to want to not really touch until you really know what it does. I would suggest looking at the Unity documentation to find out more about event system manipulation and stuff like that. But the default properties for it is perfectly fine for most things. So your canvas, this, if we press F, this is your game screen. This is the UI layer for all of the text that you're going to need. Now I do have to warn you, you can't move this around by really any means. it's set there. So if you look at your main screen, you are going to see, if this box is your camera, the top right corner is the canvas. It's a little annoying. I would suggest, if you aren't going to be doing a lot of canvas manipulation, you can go up to here and click this check mark. That basically says whether or not it is active, and that way it's not going to be selectable. However, you need to make sure to turn this back on, because just as this can't be selected, it basically doesn't exist in the game. So anytime you need to test something with the canvas, you need to turn it on. Otherwise, it just won't be there. So there's another important thing. Under Canvas Scaler, you're going to want to select Scale with Screen Size. This way, what it's going to do is it's going to make this canvas your actual screen. If we just kept it with constant pixel size, it's going to look a little weird. Let's say we move this to, and we're using T for this. T is really good for UI manipulation. And let's say we move this to the center, a little bit down like that. So in the game screen, it looks like this. It looks, about twice the size of the player. And it's right to the left to bottom of the player. But if we full screen it, it does not look the way that it did inside of the game. It looks completely different and out of place. That's why we want to use Scale with Screen Size. That way, it will give us an accurate representation of what the UI will look on the screen, and we can scale it and such accordingly. So here, let's make, this is going to be score. Now, you can name this whatever you would, you can put whatever text you want in here, because since we are manipulating the text, we can make it say whatever we want. So I think when the player destroys an asteroid, they will get 100 points for it. So let's say that the potential max amount of points that the player could get would be close to 10 million. So this way we have a idea of what a big score would look like. I want to move this to the top left corner, like so, and I'm going to expand it all the way across, and I'm going to set this to the left side, just in case they gain more points than I thought they would. I'm going to go to here to font size, and I'm going to scale it up, and now you can see that scales it up like so. Let's set this to a nice even 50. I'm also going to change the color to a pure white, just so that it looks, just so you can see it on the background. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this inwards a bit. I want to give it a little bit of padding. Now you can do this a different way by messing with a bunch of these numbers up here. These numbers are basically the exact same thing for another like 3D object. The Y position and stuff, move it left and right, Y position, move in the Y direction, etc., etc. You also have your width and height. This controls the obviously width and height of it all. But I find that using T on the keyboard and manually doing it makes it feel a lot better. So now that we have that, we're going to name this score text. We're not going to tag it for anything. The UI layer is fine. This is all good. Something I do want to say though, really quick, is I should have said this back when we were talking about the scaler, but there is another thing besides constant pixel size and scale of screen size. You can also set this under canvas render mode. Default is screen space overlay. You can set this to world space. What world space does is it creates a UI environment inside of the actual game. So by doing that, you can make your like, let's say you have a 3D game. That's where you would really use world space render mode. You have a plank, and you want to write something on that plank, but you don't want the player to be able to see it through all this different stuff. So what you would want to do then is set the canvas scaler to world, and or you set the canvas to world space, and put that right in your 3D world. Now, if you want to experiment with that more, I would suggest building a 3D game, or at least making a 3D environment to test it out with. You wouldn't really see the effects of it in a 2D environment, which is why, especially for 2D games, we use the basic screen space overlay. But it is very useful in 3D games, and I will let you experiment with that and find out the the flaws to it and such. But this is a game about our 2D asteroids game, so I'm going to keep it on topic for that. So after we have named this our score text, we need to, I want to make it a little bit more interesting. Let's make a multiplier. Let's say we're going to name this multi-text. And since I just copied and pasted it, it's going to be right below it. So I'm going to come down to here. Let's make it right about there. I want to make this 30. I'm going to make this a much smaller font. And I'm going to call this, or I'm going to make it look like that. I think that's pretty good. So the multiplier is going to have an X underneath the score, and that's how much the score is going to be multiplied by. So I think that's what I want the game to look like. If we play it for a little bit, we can see that the score is actually probably a little bit too big. It's a little intrusive, so I think I'm going to scale it down just a little bit. Let's make this a 45, and we're going to make the multi-text a 25 just to keep it all consistent. Go ahead and save that. Play it one more time just to make sure it feels right for you. There we go. And let's get to actual text manipulation. So under your Game Master code, we're going to make an object at the very top. We're going to call this, we're using text. So at the very top, where remember at the very beginning I told you about all of this using systems collections, Unity Engine, etc. For this, we're going to type in using Unity Engine .ui. So when we put this into the code, it's going to give us some of the basic functions of the UI. So like let me show you what would have happened if we didn't do that. So if I wanted to type text, well there's no text, like just basic text right now. It's all text editor, text generator, text mesh, etc., etc. But as soon as I include using Unity UI, it says, oh, okay, you must mean text. So that's what the using things means. So we're going to say text, score text, and we're going to make another text called the multi-text. And we want to make these public because we want our game master to be able to access them by us dragging it in the inspector. There we go. So now we need to find out how to there we go. I can spell multi-text. So now we need to figure out what we want our texts to say. So at the very beginning, in order to make it so we have a very baseline text output, we're going to do score text dot text equals, and then this is what the text is going to look like. So we want it to say score, and that's going to be the text currently. We also need an actual score counter, so we're going to do an integer called actual score. And we're going to set that to 0 at the very beginning of the game. We're also going to have an integer called the multiplier. And we're going to set that to 0 as well. So under score text, we're going to do score text plus actual score. And for the multiplier, we're going to do multi-text dot text equals an x, and then we don't want a space between those, so we're not going to put one there. And then we're going to do multiplier. There we go. And Let me just build that really quick to show you what it's going to look like. Under Game Master, we have our new areas. So we're going to put score text in there, put multi-text there. And once we play it, you're going to see that the score and the multiplier update with what we put inside of the function. Let's take that out. And now we need our score to actually improve. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new function called addScore. It's going to be public void addScore. What this is going to do is it's going to increase the actual score plus equals, so it's adding it to itself plus something else. We're going to multiply that by 100 times the multiplier. There we go. And then after that, we're going to update the text. So we're going to take score.text. Actually, we'll take all of this, and we will put it underneath that. Also, the multiplier should probably start at 1, not 0. Otherwise, the player would never be getting any points. There we go. So we need addScore to be called every single time an asteroid is destroyed. So under asteroids, we're going to say in the onTriggerEnter area where the object is destroyed, right before it gets destroyed, we're going to say master script dot addScore, just like that. So if we build it now, the multiplier won't work, but we should see our score increase by 100 for every asteroid that I destroy. And there you have it, just like that. So now let's work on the multiplier. In our Game Master script, we're going to make another function called increase multi. So we're going to do public void increase multi. And what this is going to do is it's going to take the multiplier and it's going to go plus plus, which basically means just add 1. Now, I want the multiplier to reset every time the player misses. So, easy way to do that is we're going to make another function called public void reset multi. And what this is going to do is it's going to set the multiplier equal to 1. Under asteroid movement, when it says addScore, we're also going to increase, we're going to increase the multiplier as well. So let's do master script dot increase multi, just like so. And then under our bullet movement, we need to check to see when it gets destroyed, and we need to do the same thing. So we need to do the same thing that we did in asteroid movement, where we take the Game Master and master script, just like so, and we're going to copy the beginning part of it all, just like this, so that when the bullet can access the Game Master files. So then under update, before it gets destroyed, because once it gets destroyed nothing's going to happen anymore, we are going to say master script dot reset multi. Reset multi, just like so. So what this does is every time a bullet gets destroyed without hitting an object, it's going to reset the multiplier back to 1. However, every time a bullet destroys a asteroid, it's going to add the multiplier, or it's going to increase the multiplier by 1. So let's test this out. There we go. Just like that. And as you can see, the score is going up every time you do so. Now, something that I noticed at the very beginning was we start with a multiplier of 1, and it doesn't update until we hit our second asteroid. So if we wanted the multiplier to increase, or the multiplier to in basically, what am I saying? If we wanted the multiplier to update before we, okay, I'm sorry. I'm having trouble thinking what I'm saying. But if we wanted the multiplier to increase before our score was added, then we would just reverse these in our asteroid movement script. We would increase the multiplier first, then add the score. I, however, am fine with the multiplier increasing after the second one, so it's really up to your choice which way that you want to do it. I'm going to show you what it looks like if we reverse it, just so that you know. So that's built, and let's play it. So score 0, we hit 1, and it immediately jumps up to 200 points. So what's happening there is it's increasing the multiplier and then adding it. So instead of the first asteroid being worth 100 points, the first asteroid is now worth 200 points. Now let's test the asteroid resetting mechanic. Let's just fire into the void, and nothing happens. Let's test that again. I want to make sure that, okay, so it really isn't working. The multiplier is not being reset, or so we think, because looking back at the reset multiplier, all it does is set the multiplier back to 0. What we can do is take the text and put it under both increase multi and reset multi. That way, if we go to asteroid movement, we can replace this back where it originally was, and it should work just as expected, because everything will now update when it's supposed to update. So the first one will be worth 100, multiplier of 2, 3, 4, 5, exactly. And if we fire into the distance, the multiplier will be reset and the score multiplier is fine. So there we go. Our score now works. The multiplier now works. So let's start adding some challenges. In the last video, I talked about how I wanted to make this a little bit more like a progression type challenge. So what I want to do is under Game Master, we're going to add another thing. And what this is going to do, it's going to change the amount of time that the player or that the asteroids spawn depending on the player's score. So we're going to go up here and we're going to find the coroutine. Here we go. So the spawn timer. So I want it to say, okay, if the actual score is, let's say, less than 1,000, right? That seems pretty good. If the actual score is less than 1,000, then I want them to be spawning every 1 second. Actually, let's do 1.5 seconds, because we're going to ramp this up pretty quickly. Now we're going to say, else if the actual score is less than 5,000, then let's do 1.25. Now we're just going to copy and paste this until we get down to 0.25 seconds, which should be pretty fast. So that'll be 1, 75, 50, 25. So we're going to do from 1,000 to 5,000 to 10,000 to 15,000 to 20,000, or yep, and then 25,000. So this should ramp up pretty quickly. And down here, it's just 1, and then we do 75, 0.75, 75 seconds would be forever. And then we're going to do 0.50, and then at the very last one, it's going to spawn every 25 seconds. There we go. And that should make the difficulty a lot more difficult. So let's see. So it's spawning every 1.5 seconds now. We've reached 1,000. So now they're going to start spawning a little bit faster. And once I breach 5,000, they're going to be spawning much faster. Here comes 10,000, There we go. And they're definitely spawning a lot faster now. And then they aren't. Interesting. I wonder what's happening here. Let's... Oh, haha. So basically, under here, we said if it's less than that, then it's gonna wait for seconds, etc. We never... Oh, and it's 25. We went 0.25. We never actually said what happens if it's over that. So we are going to delete this else if, and we're just going to make that an else. We're going to make that the just blanket statement. And we're also going to make these less than or equals to. Whoops, just like this. That way they update at the actual number instead of waiting for the player to get over that number. So let's try this again. Now it should ramp up quite quickly. So we have 0.5 seconds, and now we have 0.25, and now we have 1 second. Now we have 0.75 seconds. Here comes 0.5, and there we go, very quick. So that seems a little bit too quick, actually. I think I'm going to increase the score multiplier by, let's just multiply everything by 2. That way it gives the player a little bit more of a fighting chance. So we're going to do 1,000, then the next one at 7,500, then the next one is going to be at 15,000, then the next one is going to be at 25,000, and we can make it at 40,000. Yeah, I'm just playing this by ear. It's really what I think would feel good. And there we go. I'm going to play this through. The multiplier is definitely helping out, so there we go. It's all good. The difficulty feels certainly a lot slower now. Ooh, and I got snuck up on. Although it feels good. So I'm going to keep it at that difficulty level. It should be fine now. Now there's nothing to really make that score multiplier pop. Nothing's really happening with that. So I think what I'm going to do is let's add some color to that. We want I want to add color to the add score multiplier. We're gonna say, okay, down here, after the multiplier, actually before we assign the text for the multiplier, we're gonna start assigning color. So we're gonna do the same thing for the various other, we're gonna do the same thing for this. Let's copy and paste this structure so that we can put it in here. And then we're going to delete all of the yield, return, new, wait for seconds. There we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do, okay, so if the score is less than 1,000, I want multi-text dot color. And so color is interesting. The way we do color is we do multi-text dot color equals color, capital C, dot, and then whatever color we want. I'm going to set that to white. And then I realize I don't need these parentheses since it's just a single line, or brackets I should say. And then let's do, I'll just copy and paste this for simplicity. If it's going to be 75, I want the next one to be red. Then the next one is going to be blue, or blue might be a little too dark. Let's try cyan. Then let's do some yellow. And then otherwise it is going to be, and then let's do yellow. Oops. There we go. And else, let's see, what colors are left? We could do green. There we go. And then there we have it. The color will change depending on the score multiplier that the player has. So let's test that out. Oops. I guess I still need to press play. So it's white until we get above 1,000. Or actually, I just realized something. The score multiplier is only dependent on the actual score, not dependent on the actual multiplier. So what we're going to do is we're going to reset that. Instead of actual score, we're going to do multiplier. What was I thinking? Multiplier. I don't know how to spell. We're going to say if the multiplier is less than or equal to 5, then we want it to be white. If the multiplier is less than or equal to 10, then we want it to do that. If the multiplier is less than or equal to 20, and then I'm just going to increase it by tens now. I'm going to do 30. Whoops. Just Control X to that. Multiplier is less than or equal to 40. There we go. So this should work probably the way that I thought it was going to work initially. So there we go. Let's test this out. So it does not update until after the 5, which I think is fine. There we go. We have some cyan. And then coming up, we should have, I forget, let's see, yellow. Ooh, and it reset. But hey, well actually, it doesn't look like it reset all the way. Yeah, so we can see it's still red even though the multiplier is set to 1. So under reset multi, we're going to do the color is equal to white now. That way it's just going to all the way reset. And there we go. Now we have our text that changes color for every multiplier, and the score moves, the score is the score. It works out well. So the next step is I think we should include a reset button so that every time we play, we don't just have to, undo and restart. Besides, if, out of the game, we don't want our player to be closing the game and reopening it every time they want to play, right? So we're going to make a reset function in the game master. So let's do, actually, a really easy way to do this. I should probably, I'm getting ahead of myself, as always. We need to make a game over screen. We need to make a screen that says, it's game over, you lost, try again. So we're going to create another UI, text, here we go, under the same canvas, that's fine. And this is going to say game over. I'm going to put this right in the middle, and I'm going to make it pretty big, just like that. Let's increase that font. I'm going to center it, and just like the other one, we're going to make this white. This is going to be called game over text. Now I also want to make a score counter because I don't want the score and the multiplier to be up there when the game is over. So let's call this game over score. And this is going to do basically the same thing we had talked about before. Let's bring this down. And we're going to make this text 40. It's underneath that. There we have it. So now that we have those, we're going to go back to our game master script, and we're going to do the same thing as before. We're going to create two new public texts called game over text, and the other one is going to be called game over score text, just to keep it all simple and we know what we're dealing with. So if we played the game the way it is right now, the game over and score text would be right in the middle of the screen, and it wouldn't be all that good. So when we start the game, we want the game over text to just equal nothing. We want it to be showing nothing. And we're going to do the same thing for the game over score text. Like that. So that when we start the game, we need to actually assign it in the game master, like this. Also, you can click on the circle next to them and find it like that. When we start the game, nothing is being shown. So we're going to create our game over function now. So public void game over. And what this is going to do is we're going to take our, copied the wrong ones. We're going to take our game over text and our game over score. Actually, we can take all of these since I want to remove the ones in the upper right. And we're going to paste them in here. And we're going to take the score text to equal nothing, so that it looks empty. The same thing with the multi-text. And then for the game over text, we're going to say game over. And for the game over score text, we're going to do score plus and then the actual score. There we go. Also, you might have noticed that something weird happened to my cursor right then. That's because I pressed insert. If you press insert, you get a box around the letters, and you actually end up changing the space that you're on instead of placing one there. For example, if I'm highlighting over the plus and I press H, it will replace that as an H. It's really not fun. So if that ever happens to you, just press your insert key. So there we go. So we built it now, and it's going to display that and that. So now we need to actually make it work. So we're going to go to where the asteroid destroys the player, and we're going to say master script dot game over, just like that. And once we get destroyed, it will display our score and game over. Just rack up a quick score, and everything else will disappear. Perfect. And now we need a way to restart our game. So we're going to go to game object, UI. We're going to create a button. We're going to place the button right about there. And we're going to name this button reset button, or restart. There we go. Open that up, and the text is there. We're just going to name that restart. Let's increase the font size just a little bit. And I'm going to walk you through what the button object does. So the button object is a object with a pre-made script on it that basically has a couple of different things that you can change up. So it has a normal color, highlighted color, pressed color, and a disabled color. So normal color is a color that it stays when nothing's happening to it. Highlighted color is the color that it becomes when the mouse hovers over it. The pressed color is the color that happens when the mouse button down is pressed on that. And the disabled color is the color that it has when it is no longer being used. So what we want this to do is we want it to basically restart the level, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to create an actual whole new object. We're going to create empty, and we're going to call this level master. Now you could just use game master for this, but since we're going to be doing a little bit more after after this specifically is done, we're going to be creating a main menu and such. We're just going to create a whole new object called level master. So we're going to go to scripts. We're going to create a new script called level master, like so, and we're going to open it up. So in the level master, we're going to go to the top, and we're going to say using Unity Engine, that's scene management, just like that. What this does, it allows us to use the scenes in the game and basically load and unload them as we want. The code to restart the game, we're going to use a little bit of a hack, and we're just going to be reloading the same level. There's no specific restart button. We're just going to load the level again. So we're going to do public void, and we're going to call this start game, because we're going to be using this button as the same button that will start the game in the main menu once we get to that. So it's going to be called start game, and what we're going to do is we're going to do scene management, or scene manager dot load scene, and what this does is if you hover over it, it takes the string, it takes the scene name. So remember at the very beginning we named it game, and if we build it like so, there we go, and come back to here, we're going to assign level master the script, and we're going to go to our restart button, and we're going to go down here to where it says on click. We're going to plus, and we're going to find our object. The object that we're looking for is level master right here. You can also click and drag it in there. Now you're going to click here where it says no function. You're going to select level master, and we're going to go down and find start game right here. So onClick is a very powerful function for buttons. As you saw, there are many different things. There's game object. It has the power to access a lot of public things. By accessing level master, we're accessing the script on it, because this accesses all the components. As you can see, there's only transform, level master, and the actual game object. So this accesses all the components, and then level master is accessing all of the parts of the script. Now, all of these things are things that we saw, or things that are in the script but we may not have seen. We only created start game, but since it's a public void, we can use it here. So if we play the game, what's going to happen is the button is still there. It's still there. We can highlight and such, but if we click on it, the game restarts, just like that. Even if we get some score, game completely restarts, and that's what we want. The problem is we don't want that button to be there the entire game. We only want that to show up when the game is over. So we're going to go to our game master script, and we're going to create a new public button. Public button. And we're going to call this restart button. And then under start, we're going to say restart button dot game object dot set yes, set active, parentheses, false, just like this. So remember a little bit earlier on when I was talking about the canvas, and I said if you didn't want it interrupting your game screen like that, since you can't actually move it around, you could click this button up here, and it basically removes it from the game. This, in order to access this in code, it's this little bit. It's GameObject.setActive false. So what's going to happen is as soon as the game starts, it's going to find this game object and it's going to set it to not active. So it's basically not going to be in the game. It can't be interacted with. None of the scripts on it will work, etc., etc. However, it's still technically there, and as soon as we go down here to game over and set it to true, it will come back into the game. Just like this. Just like this. Well, the problem that didn't work is because I did not assign it under Game Master. The restart button actually needs to, be assigned for it to work. There we go. Now it is no longer there. We can no longer click on it, and if we build score and die, it's there, and now we can interact with it. There we go. Just like that. So there you have it. You have a game that you can restart now. But I think now we want to make a main menu. We want something to for our player to see as soon as they start our game. So we're going to just go to scenes, and we're going to make a new one. We're going to go to scene right here, and we're going to call this menu. Go ahead and open that up, and this is the same kind of scene that you saw at the very beginning. We're going to go back to game, and we're going to copy the background, because we want this background to carry over. And now here we're going to create UI text. We're going to call our game Asteroid. Asteroid. There we go. And we're going to move this. It's a title, so we want to make this pretty big. And it looks like that's the limit. We're going to set it to 75. Set that to middle. There we go. And now we're going to, make sure it is set to scale of screen size. There we go. See, you can make big changes, and as soon as you actually set it up, it would all be messed up. So there we have Asteroids. Let's make this a little bit bigger again, just to compensate for that. Whoops, not 11. There we go. And now we're going to create more buttons. I'm going to name this title really quick. There we go. So we're going to create a button right here. And this button we're going to call Start Button. And the text inside of it is going to say Start, like so. Let's make it a little bit bigger. We're going to center this underneath that. We're going to scale it up a little bit, and we're going to increase the text size to compensate for it. There we go. Now we're going to copy and paste that just so we have the same settings down to here, and this is going to be called the Quit button. And that text is going to say, you guessed it, quit. Just like that. Now we're going to need to copy over, or we're going to need to create the same level master that we talked about earlier. And we're going to assign the script level master to it. Our start button, we're going to do the same thing. It's going to be on click enter, it's going to start the game. And inside of the level master, again, we need to create a quit game function. Public void quit game, like so. This code is a little simpler, it's application.quit, like so. So something to note about quit is it will not work inside of the editor. Quit will only work once it's built as a game and it's an actual application, but we still need to assign it. Go to level master and quit game, just like that. So if we play it, we have our nice menu. We click start, and it did not work because why did this not work? Let's try this again. So we're going to go to the start button, and we're going to drag our level master into there. Oh, okay. So what happened here is I have no idea. Sometimes that happens. Just make sure that you are selecting an actual object for it to call from. Sometimes it can call from a script if it's on it. I always like to make a actual object. So that should work. That should work. Why is this not working? I should probably look at the error. Scene game cannot be loaded because it's not been added to the build settings or the asset bundle has not been loaded. So now we're going to have to actually build the game. We're going to go to File, Build Settings, right down there, and we're going to click on Add Open Scenes. So what this does is it adds all of the scenes together into one place so that when you export it or build it right here, the exe file contains all of the information that it needs, and so that like a certain scene won't be called out of order and stuff like that. We're going to go to the menu. We're going to do the same thing, build settings, and make sure menu is at top. Whatever is at the very top of the scene will be built first and be the first thing that the player sees. Also to note, these numbers over here is the build index. You can also call loading scenes from the build indexes, and that's it's a different function than the one we've been using, but they all serve the same purpose. So now let's play it and let's see it actually work. There we go. Just like that. Now I want to add a game over button right down here, or a quit button right down there, so that the player can just quit and not have to restart the game forever. So let's bring it down here. We're going to call this quit button, and the text is going to say quit. The button is going to have quit game, and there you have it. Well, we need to do the same thing as before. We need to go into our game master. We need to make another button, public button, quit button, like that. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to set it not active. And then once the game is over, we're going to set it to active. There we go. A game is never done because I did not put it in the game master. And there we have it. The button is not here. We cannot click on it, but as soon as we die, it's all there. So like I said before, quit does not work inside of the editor. It will work once the game is released and exported, which is what I'm going to show you after we put some art in, art and sounds. So I'm going to create a folder, and we're going to call this sprites. So a sprite is the image that the players has. So under sprite renderer, obviously the sprite is the image here. Now I have some images that I've used before. We're going to go into here, and we're going to copy over a little just really simple icon for the player. And we're also going to copy over a background that I like. So I dragged it into there for the sprites. And under player, we're going to make this the sprite. And now it got a little too big. So let's decrease the dimensions. Let's try 1 by 1. Yeah, that seems pretty good. And we're going to update the prefab with this. And then the background, we're also going to make this space. So it's massive because we used a different sprite. So it's absolutely massive. So we're just going to set this to 1 by 1. And that fills the screen with some X's, which is good. And we need to set this back to white. If whatever color you set it to is pretty much an overlay. So black would mean that it's completely black. It overlays black over the entire thing. Red would overlay red over it, and white is the colors that you gave it. So if we play it now, we have our game looking just a lot better, if I do say so myself. The spaceship of sorts works well, and the background definitely works well as well. So there we have it. I'm going to go to the main menu, and first off, save that. I'm also going to replace the background here with the same background, setting that to white, and setting the sprites, or setting the scale to 1. And next we're going to add, let's add a font, because this default font really isn't doing it for me. So I found another type of font. So I went to dafont.com, and I found something I liked. I found this square font. So once you download it from Dafont or whatever font area that you like, you're going to find the .ttf, the true type font file, and you can just copy and paste it right into Unity. Then you're going to go to all of your things. You can select multiple text at once as well, just like that, and you can drag it in, and there you go. You have some nice looking text. I'm going to do the same thing for the other scene. I'm going to find all the text, and I'm going to replace it with this font. Much better. Let's see how that looks now. Or actually, let's wait. Let's wait for the reveal, because now I'm going to add a sound. Now I'm only adding one sound, but the sounds that you add all work in the same way. So I also found this shoot sound. Unity likes WAV files. I'm sure you can find a list of all the file types that it likes, but WAV is really good for it. If you import the sound, this is what it looks like. And if you play it using this down here, you can hear what it sounds like. And let's loop it just so you can hear it a couple more times. So I think that is going to be our shoot sound. It's pretty short, and it has a nice twang to it. So it sounds nice, and it sounds authentic. So we're going to go back to our player movement file, and at the very top, we are going to make something called an audio source. Just like that. We're going to call this audio. And then underneath start, we're going to do audio equals get component audio source. So what this is going to do is it's going to get the audio source from this game object, and it's going to set it to audio, just like that. Now, whenever let's say whenever we fire, so we want to do it right after it's been created, we're going to do audio dot play, just like that, and it will play the audio file that we have attached to that audio source. Now this gets a little bit more complicated if you have many different audio files and audio sources that you have. You need to, instead of just do play, you would need to get a different audio source for every different audio that you have attached to that game object, and you would need to assign them differently and stuff like that. So let's go to our player right here, and now we need to attach an audio source to it since we already put it in code. So we're going to go audio source. Note that there's also an audio listener. The main camera always comes with an audio listener, so you only need one in scene. In fact, the game yells at you if you have 2 audio listeners, so just remember that. So under player, we have audio source, and we're going to drag this audio clip right there. By the way, I got this audio source from freesounds.org or .com. They have really good, simple sounds, 100% free. You only need to make an account, but that's free as well, and I haven't gotten any spam emails. But really, just use any sounds that you would like. You can make your own, you can find them online, it's up to you. So now you have that there. You're just going to plug it in there. Make sure it does not play on awake, and make sure it does not loop. If you have something like background music, you would attach that to your game master object, and then you would play that on awake and make it loop. You would do that for background music. But for right now, since it's only being triggered on whenever the arrow key is being pressed, we're going to leave it just like this. Now you can mess around with the volume, pitch, all of this stuff. There's 3D sound settings as well, which I'm not going to get into because it's very interesting. It's very complicated. But why don't we go ahead, go to the main menu, and where's the scenes? There it is. Go to main menu, and let's test this all out. So there we go. That's a nice, strong beginning scene. I like that. And if we fire, there we go. That sounds good. It's a very simple game, but we have some really nice polish on this. Works well, feels good, and that's the most we can ask for. So, and I'm going to show you how to export this. We're going to go to Build Settings, make sure everything's all there. Down here under Platform, you can choose whichever platform you like to develop it for. PC, Mac, Linux standalone is what you're going to want. Player settings. Don't worry about the player settings. Make sure your target platform is Windows or whichever computer you're developing it on, because you're going to be testing it there. Just use basic. Honestly, just any of the basic stuff works. And we're going to build. So I'm going to build this straight to my desktop, and we're going to call this Asteroids. Asteroids version, let's do 1.0. And it's going to build. And Unity is going to look a little weird while this is happening. It's going to look like it's deleting all of your stuff, but trust me, it's not. It's just packaging it all into one simple exe file. And once it is done building, it will show you it in here, and you'll be able to open it up. Here we go. So this is what it looks like. You can change your inputs down here. You can select windowed, stuff like that. You're all good. I'm gonna keep it at the maximum. Fantastic, obviously. I'm not gonna keep it windowed, and let's play our game. That looks good. I'm gonna start. Ooh, well, I wasn't ready for that. Here we go. Well, that's a game. You have successfully exported your game. It works, and quit button works as well. So there you go. Congratulations, you have successfully made a game. Now using this knowledge, you can create a bunch of different things. You can create, the game that you've had in your head for a long time. And even though you've made something simple like this, and you might not think that the game that you want could be built using the knowledge you have right now, I'm urging you just to try. I want to thank you for being here and watching this. I hope I've taught you at least a couple things. I know that I've learned something. I've learned that I'm a much better teacher in person than I am in a video. And because of that, if any of you have any questions or want to go over how to use Unity a little bit more, feel free to email me. I will answer any of your questions. And once college starts up again, feel free to find me, and I will give you personal lessons on this. I really like teaching, and trust me, I'm a lot better teacher in person. So I hope you had a little bit of fun. Thanks for putting up with my ramblings, and have a nice day.